All right, let's get back to normal. No more podcast discussion, no more Vince McMahon discussion, no more CM Punk discussion, no more UFC discussion or podcast discussion or anything like that. It's time to get back to normal. TLC is this Sunday on the WWE Network, and I'm going to offer up to you my half-assed predictions for the pay-per-view. I don't think I even did predictions for Survivor Series. As far as Raw tonight goes, this is not going to be a Raw review. Tonight's Raw was the Slammy Awards. Now, in recent years, they've been doing the Slammies in December because they're kind of treating it as their year-end awards, which is fine. I have no problem with that, but still, as an old-school guy, I hate to see what they've done to the Slammies. I hate seeing what the Slammy Awards have turned into. Those 2 years that they did it in the early 80s, I wish they would have kept that going and done it every year, but they did it in 86, and 87 was even better. That was my favorite year. I wish they could do it a little more old-school than they do, and the categories are so ridiculous, but they always were. Even going back to the early days, the categories were silly, but now it's like they have categories like OMG and LOLs. Like, give me a fucking break. All I really care about the Slammies out of all these stupid ass fucking categories they have are just two of them, and that's Match of the Year and Superstar of the Year. Now, it looks as if that there's a little bit of controversy as far as who got Match of the Year and who got Superstar of the Year. I got a lot of messages on Facebook and Twitter asking my opinions, if Roman Reigns deserved that trophy, if Team Cena versus Team Authority deserved that trophy, you know. Yeah, honestly, I really don't care. It's the fucking Slammies. It's probably bullshit, rigged crap anyway. I don't take this seriously at all. I really have no problem with the WWE basically giving Roman Reigns the Superstar of the Year award because he's the guy that they want to push. You know, I made the argument for Brock Lesnar, and I can easily argue against Brock Lesnar because even though Brock accomplished great things, he wasn't on TV. He only wrestled a couple of times. Yes, he ended the streak. Yes, he destroyed John Cena at SummerSlam, but he wasn't on TV every week, you know, entertaining the hell out of the fans, you know, and just really contributing and being a big part of the product and the show throughout the year, which is something that people should take in consideration when they're voting for a Superstar of the Year. So I have no problem with Brock not winning it. I definitely have no problem with John Cena not winning it. So Roman Reigns, you know, if that's who they want to give it to, you know, GoodMicWork's honestly fine with it. I can definitely see where he might not be the best choice because when did he get hurt? I mean, shit, I think Brock Lesnar has wrestled a match more recently than Roman Reigns. So Roman Reigns basically won Superstar of the Year, you know, only by working 9 months of the year. He's been out, you know, the whole fall and winter. So there's a really good chance that all this bullshit is rigged. I'm sure that it is, and I really don't care that it is. It's what WWE does in today's day and age. Now, the Match of the Year, that was one I really didn't like either. How can you not go with Daniel Bryan and the victory he had at WrestleMania 30 when you take everything into consideration? How can you not have that match be the Match of the Year? And this is one of those things where Daniel Bryan, if he was not injured and he was on the show every week, that match would have been the Match of the Year. But just like they took it off, didn't I hear that right? Remember when they ran the WrestleMania special on NBC or whatever the fuck? I even think they took away the Daniel Bryan victory because he was injured and not on TV. And plus, Sting just came into the company, made his long-awaited debut for the WWE at Survivor Series. They're trying to get that over, so they plain and simply just gave the Match of the Year to Team Cena and Team Authority, and the crowd booed the shit out of it until Dolph Ziggler's music played, and then everybody was like, okay, I guess it's okay, because Ziggler, you know, he did put on a hell of a performance in that match. He did win the match for the team, and he did accept on their behalf. And for a guy like Ziggler, who all of us have been screaming for the WWE to push, for him to accept a Slammy for the Match of the Year is a pretty encouraging thing to see for a guy like Dolph Ziggler, a guy who a lot of us, you know, feel like was shit on after his big world title victory and his concussion. They haven't done shit with him since then. It seems like he might be climbing back up the ladder, and it's about fucking time. So even though I disagree with the Match of the Year option for the WWE, at least it gives Ziggler, you know, some big rub, which is what he needs. So I guess I'm fine with it. But these awards are bullshit. You guys know that. Is it really even worth debating? Is it really even worth getting that upset about? It's the fucking WWE. This product is made for 14-year-old boys, and it's horseshit. We all know that. We just gotta live with it and try your best to at least see the humor in it. I mean, I spent the whole damn night on Twitter just making fun of the show. Everything I saw just cracked me the fuck up. And we'll get into just a little bit of that. I'm not gonna rehash this show. Now, Raw was definitely better I think than last week's show. I was not a fan of last week's show at all, so much so that I didn't even do a review on it. And as far as this Monday Night Raw goes, other than the Slammies, we saw some good shit with Dean Ambrose and Bray Wyatt. I love Dean busting out of the back of that ambulance. He looked like fucking, I don't know, Freddy Krueger or something coming out there. So I love the interaction between Ambrose and Bray Wyatt. That was great. Damian Mizdow was hysterical as always in their tag team match. That was great shit. It was great to see Charlotte have a match against Natty Neidhart on Raw, which was awesome. Now, again, it's a Divas match on Raw. These girls are given fucking 45 seconds to work. So no matter what they're doing in NXT, you're not going to be able to get that same quality of a match on Raw. You just can't. It looks like they've been doing that from time to time with a lot of these NXT stars. They're coming in and working a Raw match here or there just to get them some experience in that live environment and, how crazy live TV can be and how different the matches are, when you're dealing with commercial breaks and less time to work with and shit like that. So if I had to guess, Charlotte was on TV tonight just to get her ready, for when she's on the main roster full time. And, of course, we have to include our clusterfuck main event. It seems like this is the ending to Raw every single week. Just some DQ and brawl finish so they get all the participants out there. It's John Cena versus The Big Show, by the way, is the main event. Like that hasn't happened 6,000 fucking times already. So that's the main event. Of course, nothing is resolved. Everybody runs out there. Luke Harper and Erick Rowan, fucking Ziggler, Seth Rollins, everybody. Just a huge, giant brawl to set up the big TLC pay-per-view this Sunday. Now, as far as my predictions for the show goes, I'm going to briefly go through these matches, give a quick thought on them. I don't know how accurate I'm going to be because, like I said, I've been paying very little attention to the WWE. It's really hard to watch this shit right now, but every time we have a pay-per-view like this that just doesn't seem to measure up on paper and that I'll come up and completely rip and destroy, before the pay-per-view even airs, a lot of times these pay-per-views wind up surprising us, by the work in the ring. There are a lot of great wrestlers in the WWE, despite the fact that we're dealing with a horrible product right now. There's some guys in there on that roster that can really go. And a lot of these guys, with their athleticism and with their great storytelling in the ring, have had the ability to save a pay-per-view here or there. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if TLC winds up being a lot better than we think it's going to be. But we might as well start with what will most likely be the main event. John Cena versus Seth Rollins in a tables match. Now, what's interesting about this match is that John Cena's #1 contender spot against Brock Lesnar is on the line. Now, I made the mistake in my last commentary. I thought that Seth Rollins, if he won, he also became the #1 contender. That's not the case. All that happens is that if John Cena loses, he's no longer the #1 contender. So, it's got a lot of people speculating. John Cena, even on Raw, cut the promo saying, hey, TLC is a big test for me. I either need to see if I can still keep up with these guys or if I need to step aside. So it's just a little teasing, of John Cena. They're acknowledging that his career is nearing its end. I still think John Cena could easily be in the ring for 10 fucking more years. But if they do want to slowly phase him out in time, maybe they can be starting this. And a lot of people have said they think maybe Seth Rollins can beat John Cena. I have to say no. Has nothing to do with who I want to see win. It's who I think will win. And if you're going to build John Cena and Brock Lesnar for the Royal Rumble, this is a big pay-per-view. This is not TLC. This is not fucking Battleground. This is the Royal Rumble. Seth Rollins or anybody else versus Brock Lesnar, I guess for right now, wouldn't make any sense. It seems like you got to give John Cena that match, and he's got to face Brock. Who wins from there? I don't know. Again, Seth Rollins is in a good position, just like John Cena is. When you have a weapons match like this, a lot of times a guy can lose without really losing. Now, this is going to be a tables match, so I'm assuming if you just have to put your opponent through a table, that's it, then either guy can lose, and it's not going to harm him either way. And plus, where the fuck is Randy Orton? You could easily have him interfere in this thing because clearly his feud with Seth Rollins is not over. Seth Rollins came out on Raw and accepted the Slammy Owen Hart style that Randy Orton won with whatever stupid fucking category that Slammy was for, and he came out and took the award himself. And we haven't seen Randy Orton back on TV yet. TLC probably could use a surprise because our WWE champion is missing yet another pay-per-view, so Randy Orton showing up in this match is a very, very good possibility, and maybe he helps John Cena win, and he can continue his feud with Seth Rollins, and Cena can move on to Brock Lesnar. So if I'm a betting man, I gotta say something like that. John Cena probably comes out winning this match, only because they got to have him and Brock. I don't know. They'd have to change gears really quick. I mean, when did John Cena earn this match? You know, right after he lost to Brock at Night of Champions, right? So he's been number one contender for a while. All of a sudden, you know, a month before the match is finally going to happen, they're going to change gears and put Brock in the ring with somebody else. I actually don't see that happening. So John Cena, I see winning. And luckily, Seth Rollins can't be buried. Because let me tell you right now, you're going to have enough of those people coming out if John Cena does win, screaming that he buried somebody. But if it's a tables match and there's interference from the outside, nobody's fucking buried. If John Cena goes out there and beats Seth Rollins in 6 minutes through the table and pins him clean or whatever the fuck, then yes, he buried him. But I doubt this match is going to go that way. WWE has big plans for Seth Rollins. He's still the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. And the longer he holds that briefcase, the better chance I think he has of actually cashing in successfully, especially if Roman Reigns winds up winning the WWE title at WrestleMania 30. You know, you have him hold the belt for a couple of months, and Seth Rollins can cash the fucking thing in June on Roman Reigns, and you can have a goddamn, you know, big giant world title program with 2 former members of the Shield. So that could definitely be the direction they're going, and I think if Seth Rollins loses this match to John Cena at TLC because he goes through a table or Randy Orton interferes or something like that, no fucking harm done. They got to go with Brock and Cena anyway, so you should probably expect an outcome like that. But if Seth Rollins is able to score the upset, even better, you know, because I would love to see John Cena, quote-unquote, step aside like he said on Raw. I don't see John Cena being WWE champion going into WrestleMania 30. I would like John Cena to be involved in a program with a guy that will really sort of, you know, test John Cena's mortality. Maybe he can have this, you know, sort of struggle with himself. Am I good enough? And maybe somebody can really, really challenge him and he can have a big, high-profile match at WrestleMania like he did last year with Bray Wyatt, you know, and still not have to worry about contending for the world title, which I think is probably the best we can hope for as far as John Cena goes. And of course, there's always the ever-popular John Cena heel turn debate. Wouldn't that be great? You know they'd never do it, but you know what I was thinking about the other day? Remember back in 2001 when Stone Cold turned heel and he aligned himself with Triple H and Vince McMahon? I would like to see that recreated today. But instead of Vince, you have Triple H. And instead of Stone Cold and Triple H, you have Cena and Randy Orton. You know, think about it. You know, those two guys were, you know, the top 2 WWE guys of this modern era from, you know, 2002 up until now. Randy Orton and John Cena, you know, when they came in from OVW, they were pushed like megastars, and WWE created legacies for those two. If you align them, you know, with the new Vince McMahon, a guy like Triple H, that would be an incredible heel stable, you know, because you got so many young guys coming up through the ranks now in WWE. You got the Ambroses, you got the Reigns, you got the Rollins, you got the Bray Wyatts. You got so many guys. You can see Randy Orton and John Cena. They'd be so perfect as heels. They'd be jealous. You know, they don't like this uprising of this new blood coming up, so they're going to band together, you know, as the megastars in the company, and they're going to do everything they can do to hold everybody down, and they can be this big evil regime. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be amazing if we saw something like that? A heel John Cena standing side by side, a heel Triple H, and a heel Randy Orton. You don't think those 3 fucking guys will get some heat on the mic? Holy shit. It sucks that we live in a world where something like that will never happen. The WWE is never going to do something like that because of the reasons that we all know too well, and that is the financial side of things. But what if the WWE actually had the balls to do something like that? It would be great. God, it would be so fucking awesome, you know, and with WrestleMania around the corner, you would have to think, you know, surprise us, do something cool, but, you know, it ain't going to happen. But if it did, I would love to see them do something like that. Ambrose and Bray Wyatt also have a match. You know what? I don't even know what this is. Now, is this a full-blown TLC match? Tables, ladders, and chairs? I think it is. I'm excited for it. Those two guys in a match full of weapons like that, you know, even in a PG environment, I think can be really good. I love Bray Wyatt. I love Dean Ambrose. I love their program so far. They're doing great. And I hope they can tear the house down because it's going to be a match that the pay-per-view success depends on. And I expect them to do well. Of course they will. You know who else I expect to do well? Dolph Ziggler and Luke Harper. Straight up ladder match for the Intercontinental title. I love the size differential between Dolph Ziggler and Luke Harper. You don't see much of that. The last time we saw something like this was what? Shawn and Razor in 1994 or Undertaker and Jeff Hardy in 2002. Other than that, ladder match opponents have generally been the same size. I'm talking about one-on-one matches. I know the tag team TLC matches, you had all sorts of different shapes and sizes in that, but for the most part, you know, the ladder matches that have become famous, like The Rock against Triple H and Edge versus John Cena, those guys have all been the same size. So I like the Razor HBK UK-esque type size differential between Ziggler and Harper, and I hope they can have an awesome ladder match. This is actually the match, believe it or not, that I want to steal the show even more so than Dean Ambrose and Bray Wyatt. And Ziggler, you know, he's on a roll. I would love to see him win back the Intercontinental title. I'm fine with them putting it on Luke Harper, but Luke Harper's the type of character, especially when you don't even know what direction he's going in. He was even kind of fighting with his old tag team partner, Erick Rowan, on Raw tonight. You know, maybe those guys can start up some sort of a feud later. Does he even need the Intercontinental title? A guy like that who's so character-based, you know, and Luke Harper's so crazy, a title belt's not going to do anything for him. Dolph Ziggler is the guy that can wrestle. Give him the Intercontinental belt. Hopefully, maybe the Luke Harper Intercontinental title experiment is over, and they can give it back to Dolph Ziggler, because Dolph Ziggler in a ladder match, all of the great things he's going to do in there, you would hope he would win. I'd hate for Ziggler to go through all that trouble, you know, just to lose to Luke Harper. But, you know, when you have a newly crowned champion like that, the WWE tends to keep the belt on those guys. So if I have to offer up a prediction to you, oh, that's tough. I guess I will predict Luke Harper to retain. I hate making that prediction. I really want Dolph Ziggler to win, but I'm going to predict Luke Harper. What else we got? Ryback versus Kane in a chairs match. Can I predict? Who gives a fuck? I don't care. This one's pretty easy to predict. Ryback is going to win this match. Why would he lose to Kane? Ryback just returned. They're trying to push him again. Kane is a fucking mess. His character is completely in the toilet. It's so disappointing. I was reading some comments in my last video, I think, and somebody was like, hey, how do you talk so bad about Kane? Because Kane fucking sucks. That has nothing to do with Glenn Jacobs. He's one of the greatest workers in the history of the fucking wrestling business. A first ballot Hall of Famer, should be in the Hall of Fame the day he retires. But it still has nothing to do with the fact that 2014 and 2015 Kane is going to completely suck ass. He's out there wearing khakis. Has nothing to do with Glenn Jacobs, the human being, and it has everything to do with the WWE's handling of the Kane character. Makes me sick. So Kane will be going down at TLC 100%. Ryback wins. The Miz and Damien Mizdow are going to defend the tag team titles against the Usos. Now, they got a little side story here involving, is it Jay or Jimmy Uso's wife? One of the two of them. I guess it's, I don't even know the fucking chick's name. It's Naomi, right? So anyway, the Miz is kind of talking to her a little bit. She wants to be an actress, and he's going to get her some screen tests and shit like that. This is some total diva shit that I'm not even familiar with. So I don't know what the fuck's going on there. Last week on Raw, I loved when he came out there and slapped the shit out of the Miz. That actually felt real, and I liked it. But as far as a prediction for the match goes, you know, Damien Mizdow is so fucking over right now. He's got me cracking up every week. You know, he's so entertaining with what he's doing as his stunt double. You know, plus they just won the titles not that long ago. They're still teasing the heat. Eventually, you know, Damien Sandow is going to get fed up with the Miz's bullshit and hogging the spotlight. They're going to split up, but I think they need to hang on to the belts a little bit longer because they're still the best part of fucking Monday Night Raw, at least right now. So as much as I love the Usos, you know, you got to keep the belts on the Miz and Mizdow just a little bit longer, and maybe, you know, they can drop them more closer to the end of the year or something like that. But, you know, right now, just keep doing what they're doing. They're entertaining as shit on Raw, and that stuff's just gold. Here's one that I'm scratching my head going, what the fuck? The Big Show versus Erick Rowan in a stairs match. So it's TLS or TLCS now? What the fuck? So they ran out of ideas, so now they're putting stairs in the ring. Tables, ladders, chairs, and stairs. Why don't you just throw a fucking refrigerator in there? Tables, ladders, chairs, and dishwashers. I don't know. And how annoying is it how they are obsessed with calling Erick Rowan Big Red? They didn't shut the fuck up. Big Red, Big Red, Big Red. Okay, we get it. Big Red. That's his name. Ugh, you know, it's just like they just hammer things home so hard that it just makes you want to puke. I got nothing against Erick Rowan, but I think that Harper and Rowan didn't even need to be split up. Erick Rowan's getting no pop at all when he comes out there. He was brawling a little bit with his former partner, Luke Harper, on Raw. It's some matches that if these guys had a program together, I think would be good, and I think maybe after each of their current programs with Ziggler and the Big Show are over, they can move into a feud together, but I would love to see them just reunite and be a tag team. I'm not a fan of them singles, especially Rowan. Luke Harper, I'm a little more warmer on, but Erick Rowan I can't stand. I don't think he's bad in the ring, but I just think a guy like that who looks looks like he does, he's just better suited to be in a tag team. And when he was with Harper, they were awesome. And I'm sure Big Show will do the honors. That's the point. Rowan and Harper were split up so they could be pushed as singles wrestlers. And you're not going to put Rowan in there with a veteran like the Big Show just to have him lose. Then, what's the point of the push? It's just like Ryback going in there with Kane. So Rowan, in a stairs match, I predict to beat the Big Show. Now, I don't know what that means. Does that just mean you can use stairs in the match and you still have to pin your opponent? Or do you have to slam your opponent on the stairs? I don't understand. A stairs match is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. We also get a recycled feud. Rusev is back feuding with Jack Swagger again, out of nowhere. Last week on Raw, it looked like Zeb Coulter was attacked Nancy Kerrigan style backstage and hurt his knee. So he's on the shelf right now. Swagger came out there by himself and attacked Rusev during a Slammy Award bullshit with him and Lana out in the ring, and now these two are going to face each other at TLC, and I believe this is just a straight-up match for the U.S. title. So I got to predict Rusev. At this point, I don't see how Swagger could win. I know it's a feud. I guess they want to keep Rusev, feuding with guys that are very pro-USA, and Swagger is one of those guys, but it was funny, Swagger came out there and interrupted, attacked Rusev, attacked his ankle, just like he did last time that they feuded, putting him in the ankle lock because this idiot's out there wearing no shoes, so they're doing this again, and it just seems like the exact same shit that they did, I don't know, when was it, 6-9 months ago even? I don't know when it was, but it's been a while. So for Swagger just to randomly come back into a feud with Rusev and beat him at TLC for the U.S. title, I don't see that happening. I think Rusev has to retain. Speaking of retaining, are any of us expecting AJ to win the Divas title? Isn't she facing Nikki? I don't know what the deal with AJ is. I mentioned her in my last commentary. If she's supposed to be out the door, that might be the best thing for her. Now she's, now you got the wife of the guy that just trashed the company and who's now working for UFC, working on your TV show, one of your main divas that you use. She won fucking Diva of the Year Slammy tonight on Raw as well. So it makes me think maybe she isn't going anywhere. I don't know, but Nikki's the one that they, have got plans for right now. AJ had the belt a lot. She was the longest reigning Divas champion or whatever the fuck. So keeping the belt on Nikki seems like the most logical thing to do, and I predict Nikki to retain. And we're not completely finished. We got a pre-show match as well. The New Day is going to be taking on the Rhodes Brothers, Goldust, and Stardust. Now, New Day finally did debut, and I really got to say I hope they're trolling us. This is not what I expected. They're out there smiling, clapping, dancing around like a bunch of idiots. They are extremely over the top and very, very positive, almost so much so that I'm wondering if they're going to be these type of heels that think they're baby faces but are really heels. You know what I mean? Kind of that delusional Bo Dallas, Kurt Angle type of heel where they're out there preaching positivity, but they do dastardly things in the ring. They act like heels, but they still try to act positive and shit like that. So I'm hoping that there's some sort of a heel turn soon, or I hope they do something a little shady in a match that just gets the fans questioning them. I would have much preferred to see these guys be heels. I know we talked about the Nation of Domination. You don't necessarily have to completely rehash that whole idea, but I would have at least liked to see these three guys come out there wearing black or wearing sunglasses or just being a little bit more hardcore, a little more adult, and if they were going to be heels, to be extremely vicious, because Big E is a fucking monster. Kofi Kingston, is an athletic superhero. Some of the things he can do in there. I think they can utilize them as a great team and a great faction. So far, I'm a little bit disappointed in the New Day. It's been 2 fucking weeks. I'm not going to completely bury the gimmick just yet. And finally, before I get out of here, I actually meant to mention this in the beginning of the video and I forgot, but I just wanted to let you know that I am going to suspend production on my DVD and pay-per-view reviews and my Q&As just until the end of the month, or until the end of the year, that is. Because I am working on some things for the channel starting in 2015, and I'm going to have some announcements about that in my year-end video, which will probably come after Christmas this year. I'm looking at the calendar now. The 29th is a Monday, so I would say the 29th or 30th would be a really good candidate for my end-of-the-year video, and there will be a few announcements in that video regarding what I will be doing in 2015. I will be back up here with my normal Q&As, my normal pay-per-view and DVD reviews, and I'm I'm also going to be debuting a brand new series on the channel that starts right at the beginning of the year. I know I've been calling them segments, but let's call them series. A brand new channel series will debut, really close to the beginning of the year, and I'm excited about it, and it should be a series that will be frequent. Unlike my Q&As that might only come around every 2 months, unlike my pay-per-view or DVD reviews that might only come around monthly or every 3 weeks or so, this new series should be a little bit more frequent than that, and I've got some big plans for the channel in 2015. I think it's going to be a big year for the GoodMicWork YouTube channel, coming up. So in preparation for that, I'm just kind of working on that throughout the rest of this month. Plus, it's holidays. We all have a lot of shit going on, family stuff, work stuff. Holidays is a very stressful time, I'm sure, for all of us. So I could surprise you with a pay-per-view review because I have one that's very, very requested that I'm almost finished with. So technically, I could give that to you before December is over, but I may just hold on to it and upload a whole bunch of content at the beginning of the year because I'm working on a lot of stuff. So that is the latest with the channel, and there will be more information on all of it coming up in my year-end video. I'm excited for 2015. So you guys enjoy TLC. Let me know your comments, your thoughts on the pay-per-view, your predictions below. Feel free to tweet with me live this Sunday. I missed Survivor Series last month. I don't anticipate on missing TLC. I should be up live watching it on the network, so we can chat. You guys have a great rest of your week, and I will be up here shortly after the pay-per-view or Raw to discuss what happened. Until then, peace.